So we can get this party started because this is indeed a party because every time we link up, it's a party. Um, so first, I want to say to everybody again, good morning, good afternoon.
Good night.
Yeah. Before we get into the details, I think we should just go around and introduce ourselves, who we are and what we do. So I will go first. My name is Brianna Jenkins. I pronounce she, her, hers. I am the National Organizing Director at Lavender Rights Project based in Seattle, Washington, serving the Seattle, Washington area and overall the state of Washington. And I will turn it over to the next person.
I am Alanis Norsis, she, her, hers, the founder and executive director of Save Our Sisters United. Here located in Houston, Texas, sorry.
Okay. Word. So my name is Vernice McFarland. I'm the founder and executive director of the Mahogany Project here in Houston, Texas. My pronouns are Vernice, she, her, hers, they, them. And that's me.
Yes. So I know all of you have seen the social media messages from promoting that we have an announcement, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So just in a nutshell, the announcement is that our orgs are in partnership with each other moving forward. So what that means is Lavender Rights Project. When I initially came on in my position, I was brought on because our ED thought it was important for us to, as an organization based in the Northwest, to intentionally reach out and to build intentional and sustainable relationships with other Black trans-led orgs, particularly in the South and the Midwest. So and for those of you who don't know me personally, I moved to Houston from the East Coast last year, and I had just organically met Bernice, met Alanis, not tangentially knowing that they ran their own organizations, but as we become to know each other and to build more familiarity and love with each other, we are on the same page regards to how we want to progress our movement forward. Um, we're in a very unique time where our community is being attacked on all sides, and also Black trans voices aren't valued in that. And we just thought it was important for us to come together to push back against everything that is going on and that will continue to go on, but also come together to support each other as sister organizations. So that means sharing with each other, helping to build each other up, coming out on one accord, and just really supporting each other in a way that I don't think we've seen that isn't limited by geographic or region. I don't think I've seen anything like this, and I'm really excited. We have a lot of things we have planned, and at this point, I will just turn it over to the both of you all just to say what kind of led you to us becoming partners, and yeah, just we'll get to the other stuff later, but what kind of led us to
Which one going, Vernon, me or you?
It don't matter.
I'll go. No, I think it's perfect. Like the timing is perfect. As you mentioned, we are under attack from every angle. I think that a lot of times we're saying we're doing this community work and we don't understand that we kind of need to break that word apart, which means come in unity. And in this thing, we have seen that we have to take care of our own people. And what better way than to build collaborations across states, across state lines, across national lines, and all those spaces, so that we can make sure our perspectives are being heard or included in the narrative. A lot of times people tokenize our narratives, our visibility, and they really don't do much for us. But this is our way of taking care of us and doing what we're saying we're doing. Not only are we fighting this fight or trying to do better, we are also living it through some aspects too day to day. I'll let you take it, Vern.
All right. So I think, for me, it was all about the big component of this was like intentionality. I think if anybody who's ever like participated in a training that I've been in or heard me speak, they probably heard me say that I work with whoever the hell want to work with me, right? And for me, it was like the coming in contact with Jalen at Creating Change, at my first Creating Change, and really experiencing this really dope interaction amongst Black trans people that I have to really thank Dominique Morgan for like really like putting us all in a room together for like these 2 days, right? I think in that there was a lot of genuine interaction that came out of that. And I think in hearing where we were, and I don't mean geographically, but what I mean like where we were like in our work and in the things that we were doing and the kind of support that we needed. I think Jalen really heard those things and really heard how um, the work of of LRP can really support the work of the Mahogany Project and Save Our Sisters United, and vice versa, right? Really hearing and seeing the skills that me and Atlantis possess, how we navigate resources, how we bring resources to community, how we navigate resources in the South, support people in the South, and those kind of things, and how we cultivate relationships amongst Black trans people, right? One of the things that I speak a lot about is like trans kinship, from an unapologetically like Black trans lens. And I think Jalen also saw those things and wanted to see how that can be more integrated in, LRP's work. Those were the things that really brought us all together.
Thank you all for explaining that. And excuse me, I think it should also be a lot of our staff in Seattle, our Black trans staff, have roots in the South. Like, even if we move to these safe havens, just how we are as Black people, just how we migrate, we're just not limited to the areas that we live out now. We're still interacting with our families. We're still giving stuff back to our families. And we still have a lot of people in the South, and oftentimes in this work, the South is left behind. Black trans leaders are left behind. And so this is kind of our way of working around the system. Again, going back to what Atlanta said, to make sure that we have what we need and that we are working in the interest of all Black trans people during these uncertain times. So, in addition to us having this live today, we are going to announce that we are having an event. And don't worry, if you don't get the information, there'll be some graphics that come out after this live goes up, or they might be going up now. Here in Houston, um, we will be hosting a Trans Summit event on Saturday, September the 9th from 11 a.m. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that. This will be our first in-person event. One of the things that kind of galvanized us, that kind of made it like we need to do this and jump on this now. If you don't know, Houston, we're getting ready to go into a mayoral election. Um, and I know for me, I saw this as an opportunity to kind of educate our community about why they should be civil, and just educating our community in a way deeper than telling folks to just go out and vote. I've never thought that that messaging was effective, and I come from the mindset that we need to give folks great information and relate it back to how they can use it in their real everyday life. So we're really trying to we're being very aggressive about the situation and breaking stuff down. We're not telling people who to vote for. We just want trans folks, particularly Black trans folks, to really get in tune with what matters to them, and trying to create different ways how to civically become involved, whether it's voting in an election or whether it's feeling like they can't go on the school board, or whether it's taking up space in the LGBT victory fund. Like, we want to empower, we want to move, because now we're in a time where so many people who are not trans are having say so over what our lives look like without our input in it. We want to empower trans folks, particularly Black trans folks, to feel empowered in a way. So civic engagement is a great way to do that. Also, there is no secret we're going into 2024, the next presidential election, also the next midterm elections for the senators and the Republicans. So if we can educate our community, and honestly, I feel like everything that's out, they don't directly speak to Black trans. They either speak to they speak to LGBTQ people generally, and we all know that typically when they do that, they're speaking to white LGBT. You know, they don't include us, they don't consider us, and again, nobody is going to save us. We have to save ourselves. Um, a shout out, Save Our Sisters United Inc. But civic engagement is just one of the many tools that we will be using to empower and educate our community in a realistic but intimate way. And so, yeah, we will be having our summit on Saturday, September the 9th. We'll be having it at the headquarters at Mahogany Project, which is located in Southwest Houston, right off of Beltway 8 and I-59, US 59. So if you're in the Houston area and you're able to be in person with us, make sure you come. And our team is working on planning an event this year. So definitely make sure you're following all of our social media pages and make sure that you support. And if you can't come, tell a friend, share with somebody. But I'm gonna turn it over to Bernice and Elena so they can talk about the summit and then some of the activities that they would like to see.
Yeah, so the Mahogany Project has been doing these trans summit this year, and I think this will be like our second one, and we're really excited about more so to collaborating, bring in other organizations to help us do this work and to really uplift a shared mission for community, right? What good is the work if we're doing it in silos, and what good is the work if we're doing it by ourselves, right? And that is this shared collaboration through our organizations is the fact that we're doing it as a collective, right? We're uplifting each other, working across country. We're supporting each other, and not just the out-facing, the internal-facing work as well, right? Stop meeting with each other, being shoulders for each other to connect with like that, right? So, this is just a starting point of what we're hoping to be and shining example for community and for a collaboration that we're hoping that other people will want to see, mimic, and also be a part of, right? I think we talk about Trans Summit, I'm really excited, with so much happening in Houston. And Brianna most recently went together to a mayoral forum here together, a Pride mayoral forum, and it really didn't center community. There wasn't discussions happening there that really centered the community here in Houston, the most marginalized, and also mentioned it the trans murder capital in the state, right? And the conversation isn't even bad. There's one candidate who stood up and said, when asked a question about trans housing, he stood up and said, I don't have an answer for that, right? And so these are the people who are looking to be the leaders of our city, right? And so I'm excited to build the space and have a space where we can come together and bring community in collectively. Thrive and grow. We talk about Houston being the most diverse city in America, but that isn't made up in like genetic makeup of people being. It's also is the way that people exist and express themselves on a daily interaction. And so just saying, to just name the fact that we are a multi complex community here, and we're just excited to have people who are doing this work in a non-performative way to uplift community for the greater good of all of us.
See, that's all great. Like, I love all that you say that, so y'all know I'm the hood ratchet community girl. No, I'm just playing. No, for me, I think like listening to it, and all I hear is because I'm always community led first, like in my mindset and how my people get it, making sure that bubble language is not the thing that's being a barrier to us understanding. To now be on this pathway to saturate the landscape of Texas, okay, Houston, and change that, and let everybody know that you have a place on every level to exist. Like, just because they don't want to see us don't mean that we have to step back. I think it's detrimental that we have these type of conversations right now at this very moment. I think it's detrimental that even Black orgs step up, especially trans orgs, to be in these spaces more and take ownership. Because what is killing us is the generalized statements that are killing us. The PC conversations, all that stuff is not good for us. All they do is further erase us, and we're not getting it. You know, all we're told is like, go out and vote, and you could do this, you could do that, but it is way more to that. Like walking around day to day in the South, in Houston, knowing that your dog has more rights protecting them than you as a trans person has to be just discouraging, and it is. But it is what it is. But we could change that narrative. I think that we have forgotten that we are the root system to a lot of this movement, and that if we cut off feeding some of these horrible systems that's not supporting us, we could create our own and grow our own garden of success.
Yes. Um, so we have some more things that we can talk about, that we will talk about, but I want to open the floor. If anybody has questions, feel free to put the questions in the chat or put them in the questions box. If you have more questions about what we are doing, yeah, just this is time for you to just get to know us, just to get to know our vision. Um, and again, I just can't downplay how excited I am. I'm very blessed to be doing what I love, working with Black trans folks, working on behalf of Black trans folks. Um, this job really doesn't feel like a job for me because I do this anyway. This is something that I would do even if I wasn't getting paid. But it just I feel like I'm walking in my purpose, and I love working towards the liberation of Black trans people because I truly feel that we already are imbued with the things that we need to stand up for ourselves, to fight for ourselves, to save ourselves. And I love the fact that we are able to build connection with each other because so oftentimes, especially in this field, we are pitted against each other by people outside of our community. We are told to be mistrustful of each other. We are told to withhold information to one another. We are told to sabotage or isolate one another. And so I'm so happy that we can be a demonstration of what it looks like when we strategize and when we lift each other up. So I'm just really happy to be in this moment and to share our partnership and just to move forward because it's going y'all think it's bad now. It's going to get rougher, but if we strategize, I believe that we can make it.
I mean, all that's true. I mean, and if you don't have questions, feel free to always hit us up on our social media. You don't, because questions come just like we breathe every day. But like, just the optics of how this looks. All right. Like we keep saying that we're in these spaces, but we have to like intentionally being in these spaces, I'm sorry, without looking for any personal gain, but for success for our community. That is something that's more powerful than just being in the room for the money. All right. And this is how we start creating a narrative of how we need funding to come down and supporting our orgs. Because there a lot of times the funding is not even in our favor in a sense. So by these narratives and the race and PC conversations, we could do so much better on so many levels. Okay, Brianna stepping in on a chill Gemini child.
I was like, why is two of her coming ahead? No,
No, I signed in so I could pull more people into the live through my personal.
yeah, because I was just about to say that was my thing. I was about to say my sidebar is like this is a too powerful of a conversation, y'all. Help us run this live up. Help us get at least about 50 people in this room. Share this live. Tag your friend. In the words of my auntie, share, click like. You know, help us. Get people in here so people can hear about what's going on in community. People can also learn about what they can gauge because a big part about what this is about too is building people power, right? So the Trans Summit is about building people power. We need you guys to come in and join us in this work. We need you guys to come in and be a part of these summits. We need y'all to come out and express what y'all want to see and happen in community, how you want to be a part of it, how you want to see things play out, how you want to call people in and see people held accountable, as well as what you want to see take place in community, right? If it's just me, Alanis, and Brianna there having the conversations with our staff, that's great, right? But it's not as powerful if we don't have people from community there. And not saying that we aren't people from community as well, right? Because I'm also community too. But like we also need the larger part of community, right, to show up to say, no, it's not just us saying that we want these things. No, it's not just us saying that we need these things. And no, it's not just us experiencing these things. It's community as a whole saying this is what we need to be better. This is what we need that things are progressing for us in the right way. And so this is just not, this one fold thing or this thing to just say, oh, we meet a metric. No, we're designing this to have actionable items come out of this to really move a plan of progression forward so that we're making sure that we're holding our mayor accountable so that when Joe Biden and the White House administration is sending out these little one pagers of what's doing for the community, we can say that's great that you're sending this out, but this is what the people in our community is saying that they need and what's not happening. So we need all to be a part of that to make sure that it can happen, and it is happening.
No, I'm glad you said that because it reminds me of the panel where I just left, where I was sitting on the panel with somebody from the White House. And when they got to speaking about the quality of life, they were so generalized, not realizing that it was a race in Black trans people and that we had just gotten to the statistical numbers and it still hasn't been anything actionable. And you're right. The more people in the room, the more we could get the message out. I don't think we understand the power of optics and being in the room, all right, and being present. When you have 4 or 5 people speaking for the massive and only 4 or 5 people in the room, people are like, oh, a disbelief. But there is power in just standing behind in solidarity, all right? And it pushes the message on the optic level that people never really think about, how powerful. We see this with social media with influencers, bless you, asking for more and more people to subscribe, do this and do that, because there's power in it. And we have a power and we need to utilize that power. We keep sitting in a space of just, hey, okay, I'm not saying, baby, that you need to come up here and speak. We're up here to do it for you. I'm asking you to stand up behind me while they're trying to push us back into the corner.
Or not even that show up to things like we're saying, show up. And you don't necessarily have to show up to things like Trans Summit. Atlantis just worked with Lululemon to do like 3 or 4 like amazing up, right? And like yesterday, we spent a lot of time at this really fabulous pool party, really connecting with community and things like that. And you know what we didn't see? Enough Black trans people in the space. So the idea is that, there's not people out here doing amazing work for Black trans communities or to uplift Black trans communities. And we are doing amazing work to uplift and put in our community in places that we aren't often featured or prioritized. And making new waves, right? And so we need you all to show up in these spaces as well. It doesn't have to be a space to create trauma porn or to spill your hurt and your pain. We're also creating spaces of love and solidarity, and we're welcoming you to show up to those as well.
Let's be clear, just focusing on the civic engagement, what they really think our community wants is the LGBTQ liaison and whatever this is. I know personally I don't want that because just having an LGBTQ liaison, that's not going to lead, like, it's only, I can count on my hand the number of cities that actually have LGBTQ liaisons, and those people actually effectuate change on behalf of the LGBT. Most of the time, those are just vanity positions, and it's a way for people to kind of circumvent how they really need to be there, particularly for Black trans people in the city of Houston, in Harris County. And speaking of that, also I think we want to plug for those who are here in Houston because of the because of whatever that was, the LGBTQ mayoral roundtable, which was a circus show where when we tried to get these politicians to be specific and answer questions that related directly to the trans people in the city of Houston, they did not. They talked around the question, they answered different questions, um, or they repeated slogans. And in 2023, that's below subpar. I want to hear specific policies. I want to hear how you could propose to use the budget and whether you plan on allocating funds to divert to trans-led nonprofits so that they can do the work. I want to hear about who you are looking at to possibly appoint to cabinet positions. If we're not that far off from the mayoral election, somebody that is intentional should already know these things and be able to state those things. And the fact that none of the mayoral candidates cannot is concerning to me in 2023 in a state that is so anti-trans and that is consistently trying to introduce and pass as many anti-trans legislation as it can, and the fact that the best y'all can do is create a LGBT liaison position that's probably going to be staffed by somebody that's cisgender gay. For me, in 2023, as a Black trans woman living in the city, that's not good enough for me. But there will be a trans-specific mayoral roundtable that will be held. Let me put the date.
31st.
Okay, yeah,
At the
August 31st, which is a Thursday. Can you give the details, Vernon?
Sure. So it's going to be held in conjunction with the Mahogany Project, Equality Texas, Transgender Education Network of Texas, LRP, and Save Our Sisters United. It's going to be Thursday, August 31st, starting at 6 p.m. at the Council for Recovery in their main auditorium. It's located at 303 Jackson Hill Street in Houston, Texas. I don't have a zip code for it, but we can probably pull that up for those of you who need it. But again, it's going to be Thursday, August 31st at the Council for Recovery, 303 Jackson Hill Street. And that's again in Houston, Texas, in their main auditorium. And I also want to say, sister, at that mayoral forum, there was a gentleman there who is running for mayor and who was speaking about the COVID pandemic, and the health crisis of that. Wow, who had moments before just left out of the restroom without washing his hands. And so you're getting on a stage to talk about a public health crisis and the impacts of COVID-19, knowing that one of the greatest components of passing COVID on was people not washing their hands. And you went into the restroom, used the restroom, and didn't wash your hand, got out of the restroom, immediately started shaking people's hand, and was holding the microphone and passing it back and forth with the rest of the mayoral candidates. And while speaking about COVID as a public health crisis.
And you saw all that, huh?
Oh, and I paid attention to all of it.
So we have a question from the audience. If you have questions, please submit them to the question box, submit them to the question box. If you put them in the chat, there's so many people coming to the chat and we might miss it. So Jalen, our fabulous ED at Lavender Rights Project said, what can individuals in Washington State and other states with more access do to support the work on the ground in the South and have?
repeat the question?
What can individuals in Washington State and other, I guess, blue states with more access do to support the work on the ground in the U.S. South?
Child, that's going to that politically. You know, in the blue states, I always feel like even in that space that they're being trying to be real cautious in how they speak when they need some aggression. Like really some true aggression back to like, hey, this policy needs to be in place. This is not there standing up. Like I get it, but right now we're losing our lives. We're not even making it out here. We're not across the nation. They're saying they don't want to see us, right? So where's that aggression? Like we saw all these people come up and start fighting for trans kids, right? And they came to this landscape to fight for trans kids, but we've been having a trans fight for years. Been having it for years. What happens when you take care of the trans kids? And in my mind, are you not realizing that trans kids become trans adults? So I think right there, and the thing when it comes to some of the people that's in some of the blue states, I know that they got their stuff taken care of, but I really need some more aggression. I'm tired of seeing some of our people speak so PC about us and try to be cordial through that. I need them to put some stand down, put that BD energy on the table and do what you need to do for us. Like we have trans people have been in the front lines for everybody's fight, everybody's. But where are they at now for us? Especially Black and brown trans people, where are they at now? And the fact that we're sitting here having conversations about kids and we haven't even thought about the trans kids that's in foster care. We're only talking about the families. So I need some aggression to this. I would want to see some aggression from the people and some more pushback. Like stop all the PC talking. We could drink tea later once the people's taken care of.
Okay, so first of all, hey Jayla girl. You know, what can people do in other states with more access to part of this we can talk about offline, because I think my homegirl Chastity was onto something we're gonna need to talk about offline, because we may need to start an undercover covert network for healthcare. It may be one part of it. I already said a lot, so sister, you can decipher the rest of that from that. Other things that I think people can do is like, so I'm not sure if Jasmine McKenzie is on here, but if she is, I also want to shout her out. But one thing that other organizations can do, and this is, and I would say Florida is kind of in the same boat with Texas, right? Mm-hmm. But my sister has the ability, who gets a lot more resources. Well, she mails us stuff, like she mails us clothes and things like that. So like, maybe there's something that you came in contact with that you or your community can't really use, right? Send it out to another community of people who can use it, right? Maybe there's something in your center right now that you're holding on to that you can't use. Send that to another organization that can use it. One of the things that stood out to me in our conversation, and I felt like you really heard and seen me, is when we talked about our issues around like our development and capacity. And you came and you said, I'm gonna be honest, LRP, we ain't got all the development, stuff down. We ain't got a ton of development we can offer up, right? But we have enough where if there's something where you lacking, I can see how LRP can, our development team can step in and support the Mahogany Project, and the same for Save Our Sisters. And I think we need more larger organizations that have the capacity to do that. And also, I'm not even going to say larger organizations. We just need more organizations that are Black trans-led that have the capacity to lend resources or to combine resources with other organizations to just do so, right? I think that's how we expand the movement. I think that's how we reach the liberation that we are seeking. And I think that when we talk about, again, that trans kinship part and the liberation that we seek, we are the answer to it, right? We've been the experts on our own healthcare. We have been the experts on our own movements and other people movements. We have been at the forefront of civic engagement events without getting little or to no civic engagement, civil liberties of our own right. And so we have been the innovators of so much. And how can we be the innovator in so many areas, but then expect other people to come save us? The reality is we are the people that's going to have to save ourselves, and we're going to have to do it collectively. And we just need more people to buy into that collectionary action and to, stop gatekeeping what resources, information, funding that you have. Because the reality is the blessing that you're thinking that you're trying to really, preserve for your organization could be at your organization's detriment.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, we have to get out that mindset that if I share this, I'm not gonna have this for mine. Like, we have to. I know I have for years shared everything I have known across state lines, across national lines, and have done that openly. But then, and the thing I always say that we have to get out of that mindset that we're still operating from an area of scarcity. All right, when we really have things to offer and share, it's not always inclined, it's not always fun. And sometimes it's the conversation on how to navigate something, how to work this. As I said in the beginning, we really need to take community and redefine it and for what it really was, which is common unity. And we are not doing it. I know for me, when I built Save Our Sisters United, it was to work in collaboration with orgs. It was never to be an org to be the solo leader of the ship. Because I also feel like sometimes that's a problem when one person takes ownership of something, because then when their ship goes under, the whole program or thing goes under. We have to learn how to collaborate so that we could keep those things on top of water and keep sailing and creating pathways and exploring new lands.
And I would say that there are like macro stuff that we could do at a large level to support these awards, but on a micro level, just call and check on the leaders in these organizations in these states. Like I didn't know Regina and Unspoken Treasure Society, but I knew she was a black trans woman like me, and I know what it's like here in Houston. So I'm like, girl, let me just call you to see what the tea is. Like, what do you need us to do? And sometimes all people need is just somebody to talk to, because this work can be very isolating. And you always have to fight everybody else's battles, but who is coming in and checking on each other? I'm hopeful that at some point down the line, because now we are living in this time where there's more black trans leaders than there ever been. But from what I know, just being in circles with them and being one myself, it can be very isolating. It can be, you feel like you're by yourself. You feel like you have to advocate for somebody else because you know in the back of your head that nobody's going to advocate for you. And oftentimes that leads us to working in silos. So another aspect of this relationship is having black trans people in leadership be supports for one another. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Be supports for one another and really check in on one another. And even to our family in the blue states where it's quote unquote better, um, they might be getting resources, but they're not getting all the resources, especially when you think about how many people that are fleeing from these red states, going to these safe haven states, and people are already stretched to the max, and they need even more funding. So everybody needs support. We all have to lean on each other, and it starts with a conversation, checking in. Girl, what's going on? What do you need? How can, because it's going to come to a point where we're going to do our things on a state level, but on a federal level, because we are so connected and we're just not regional, we're going to need some type of money to meet the response. Because trans folks, because they're having to flee, they're having to cross state lines, and more money will be needed to help people to tie them over so they can get their life together. And what does that conversation look like? So we should just be checked. If I see something on the news and I know somebody has an org in that state, and it don't mean that we have to be the best of friends, but I'm genuinely invested in the wellness of all trans folks and even if we don't get along, I still want you to succeed because I know me wanting you to succeed means that I will succeed too. So just call people, send an email, do a coffee, hey girl, how you? I see what's going on. How is that impacting you? And also to get the information from the people on the ground because a lot of these legacy orgs, they're not going to the people on the ground. They're picking the most palatable trans person who's typically white or comes from a supportive family. But we know that our people are not always going to read as that, but they still deserve to be heard and listened to and protected as well.
I mean, this work is self-sacrificing. You know what I'm saying? And that the sacrifice that we give is like a lot. I can only imagine what other people are going through, and I try to be there for them. But what people don't even realize is that just by checking in, we are understanding how to better navigate our people to different states as they're transitioning away from Texas. We know for a fact that when a lot of people uprooting from Texas, that they are usually going to new states, and it's 3 months of no support or service until they get settled and figure that out. We need to change that narrative. We need to make sure that while they're transitioning, that they are actually having support systems built up that they could walk into in that moment and not have that 3 months lapse. And we know in 3 months how hard it could be, especially if you're already going there on limited funds. But even to the fact of those who cannot move or whatever, collaborating across country, across state, across nation helps us build this underground support system in a sense and bring it above ground for our people to walk.
I know, and that's why us here at the Mahogany Project, we have been very like vocal about building. I know it's a very small thing, but like building Slack channels with other organizations like across the country who use Slack. It makes it a great way to like, you have a client or a member or somebody who you're working with in your community who's uprooting and leaving. It makes it a great way, to share information or connect with those people instantly to like, hey, we have this person moving to your area. We want to make sure that, they are, connected with people. Here's, those kind of, and so if you're somebody here that runs an organization watching this and you want to be connected through us through Slack, please reach out to the Mahogany Project so we can better connect with you all so that we can make sure that we're not leaving anybody behind when it comes to service engagement. I will also add to what you said, Brianna. It's not even about even just finding the most palatable trans person. I think a lot of time, a lot of these big organizations or people who are, bringing funding in community, they just go find LGBT organizations as a whole and give that money to them, expecting those organizations to carry out trans-led work. And we know there's a lot of national or a lot major LGBT organizations, probably every community, that get trans-led dollars and provide no kind of programming or resourcing specific for trans individuals outside of that of like HIV test, right? And so what does that resource pool look like? What does how that funding uplift and support community if it's not meeting the bare minimum? And also, the testing of trans people is oftentimes, because of our proximity to sex work, right? But our proximity to sex work is only because we don't have a strong resource base for trans people in community.
So it looks like we have another question. What does actionable support from cishet GBV, which I'm assuming is gender-based violence, or like in practice?
So, I mean, there's multiple ways that this question can be answered. I think there's a clarity piece that needs to come in there because I get the part about praxis versus theory, but the praxis is money. Because the idea is Black trans women experience this violence at the same rate as cis heterosexual women, and specifically Black women. And if there was dollars funded into trans-led spaces, we can actually generate more resources to do that. And so that's an action step, but I'm not sure if that's what they mean. And so there may needs to be a piece of clarity that comes with that question.
I would say from cishet orgs, could be of service, show up to our events. Um, look for ways where we can collaborate and work because um, th- there are opportunities for us to collaborate. For us, like we need cis folks in the room because ultimately trans people are not going to be able to undo the chains or the confines of transphobia. Like that's just like black people, we're not going to be able to undo the change of racism and white supremacy. We don't benefit from it. So ultimately, it has to be those folks of privilege that are coming into the room with the intention to build real community and ultimately with the intention of undoing these systems and taking what they've learned from being in relationship with us to do the work when trans folks are not in the room, or to do the work to make sure that trans folks get access to the rooms that we normally wouldn't be able to get access.
So y'all gave all that. Y'all know my simple answer: be present and personable. It's simple as that. If you're present in that space, you get to understand the narratives. You get to hear the stories that we don't just volunteer. You get to see the real life experiences, the way we process and navigate those things, and then you get to see where you could add in. You know, it's just simple. Sometimes we people look for this complex answer, when it's just really simple. Be present and personable in these spaces with trans individuals, especially Black trans people.
So it looks like we may have another question. Somebody asked, "What is this?" Um, I'm taking that question with the best intentions. This is a live where we are announcing and celebrating the partnership of our organization. So the partnership of Lavender Rights Project, which is a transgender advocacy organization based in Seattle, where we specialize in working with Black trans folks. We are partnering with the Mahogany Project, a Black trans-led org in Houston, and Saving Our Social United, another Black trans-led org in Houston. We are working across state lines and across region for the betterment of Black trans people. So that's a
So
little.
you take it in that way, and I'm gonna take it as an educational moment. I'm gonna take it as an educational moment to say we have to learn how to ask better questions. So, you know, if when we see things like this happen, and if you want to be properly informed and you want to know what's going on, we have to learn how to ask better questions about to get a full bite of what's happening, right? And so, I understand that my sister is taking it, and rightfully so. But I think, as an educational point of view, we need to stop trying to be. Oh, I'm just gonna say we need to use this as an opportunity to learn how to ask better questions, so that we can be properly informed and educated in movement work.
I mean, I bet the title. It's in the title of the video, but.
And I also went to the person page, and I also Googled, and they also work for they had a trans liberation org in uh their tag. So the person is in, which is again my question is, we have to, my statement is, why we have to learn how to ask better questions, because I don't think there was any malice in that. But like you said, sister, it's mentioned right there. The live is titled, and clearly the person is asking because they want to have some kind of like educational grasp on what's happening here. So I just think there's a great opportunity to like learn how to ask better questions so that we get the information actively seeking.
What's the next question?
Sorry, y'all know I'm a domestic woman, honey. So I'm doing laundry, honey, and
You okay?
doing lives, honey.
Take your time.
The next question. The next question. Congratulations. Let me know how the Transgender Liberation Project can support you all. I did not see the title. So that was the same person that just asked the previous.
Thank you.
And just as a reminder for everybody that is new in here, we are in a partnership with each other. The first event we will be doing in person in Houston, Texas, will take place on Saturday, September the 9th. We are hosting we're hosting a transgender summit for the purpose of civic education and engagement. So please come out to that. There will be food, there will be refreshments, there'll be conversation. This is not trans 101 stuff. No shade to the trans 101 stuff, but we are, in my opinion,
I think Breon's frozen.
no, I'm not frozen. I was waiting for the dryer sound to go
Yeah, ladies.
off. Yeah, we're beyond the trans 101 stuff, honey. We like that, and when people try to bait us into having the same trans 101 conversations over and over and over again, it's like we have other stuff that we need to talk about and we need to strategize about, and our lives are literally depending on that. So this is not the trans 101 or where you get your moans and how I can feel like this is about us organizing politically as a community, awakening, breaking those yokes in us that where we feel like we have right to take up space in public life. That is the whole point of all of this anti-trans law, even from the just hilarious stuff and the backlash that has caused. People want trans folks, particularly black trans folks, for us to continue to feel ashamed about ourselves, to continue to feel confused about ourselves, and to recede into the shadows. And I'm sorry to say, well, I'm not sorry to say, it's not that day no more. We are rightfully taking our space where we always should have been, where we always were, and people are just going to have to deal. They're just going to have to deal. But we are here. We're not going back into our closets. We are strategizing. If you say something problematic, you will be checked. It's no longer the day where you just get to view all of these falsehoods and stuff, and we're not there to check it, and we're not there to be in the room. It's no longer the days of you not answering the questions that we need answers to. We are being very intentional when we ask these questions, so you need to be very intentional in giving your answer. And if it's not the answer that directly answers the question, then we're going to have our foot on your neck, and we're not going to apologize about it. So I just want to be very clear about what this is. No shade to the community conversations, and we all had a place where they were appropriate for us, but that is not.
Can you tell people where they can find the question box? I've been seeing questions pop up, but I haven't been seeing. I don't know if
the question box, when you place a comment, is going to be on the bottom right side of the Instagram screen. It'll be like a caption with a question mark in it. Just press it, put the questions, and I'll be able to ask your questions. I also want to note that we are only on here for an hour, so we only literally have 4 minutes left. So the rest of the time will be dedicated to asking questions. Next question comes from Miss Kiki. Thanks for affirming my community, our community. This is what we want to see. Thank you, Kiki. And we see all of the work that you do in Dallas. So shout out to you. And thank you for coming in the live and supporting us on this live. So while we have another question in the comments. How do I help? I'm running for Miss Washington and want to properly use my platform to help. I want to be an advocate. So what can we do together? I think reach out to Lavender Rights Project and be in conversation with Lavender Rights Project here if you're in Washington, because Lavender Rights Project does a lot of work in Washington State, and I'm sure there'll be opportunity for you to collaborate and really see how you use what you're doing to platform the work that so we only have 3 minutes left, so I want to turn the table to y'all if y'all have any last thoughts or final thoughts, and we can end the live.
I would just say for those of you tuning in, just take the opportunity to just make sure you're following the pages. Make sure you're following the Lavender Rights Project. Make sure you're following Save Our Sisters United. And make sure you're following the Mahogany Project. That's another way that people can support us in this action that doesn't cost a single solitary cent. And that's just by liking the pages to stay abreast of the work and to stay up to date on what we're doing and what's coming out. Again, we can't do this without y'all. And so y'all have to follow us to stay engaged and see what's coming up next. So that's what I have to say.
Yeah, and you know, my thing is, this is not a me fight, this is a we fight. Because we know that this all trails down to other areas. That affects 6 people's life and the rest other people's lives across the world. Like, we have to realize that we got to do better, y'all. Like, we really do, and we can do better, but we have to get out our own ways and make sure that we're standing on our true intentions of what impact is in our definition. Okay, Brianna, your phone dropped. I didn't want you to be great.
No, I'm here.
Oh.
I just took my own personal.
But no, I'll say also thank you all for everyone that's present. Thanks for being present in this space. That does mean a lot. If you know anything about me, I do not do Instagram lives. I do not do anything on social media. So this is a sign that this is very important to me and very intentional. So I also want to thank Lavender Rights for reaching out for this collaboration, as well as, you know, Mahogany. We share space, but definitely it's this continuation of collaboration that's most impactful to me in this movement work.
It looks like we have. This will be the last question. Are there any other questions you wish folks would ask themselves or their organization?
Before I answer the question, is there any other questions from anybody else that we didn't get to?
I think she's looking. Go ahead and answer the question before we run. It's 1 o'clock, child.
I know that's. I mean, I don't have. I mean, my thing is, I would just ask how you showing up and how you're holding yourself accountable to the work.
Yeah, I think you first got to be in the room. You get what I'm saying? When you walk in the room, you assess it and see the needs. You know, like a lot of times we think we could assess things from not ever walking in a space, but you need to come in the space and be present.
Girl, why we wouldn't mention LRP? We out here with y'all. That's just great. Now I'm just playing.
So, are there questions you wish folks to ask themselves or their work? I would say for people that want to get into this work, really ask questions about. You have to know what's important to you, but you really have. Sometimes the writing is on the wall, and one thing for me, as powerful as I am, I know I as a one person am not stronger than racism, and I'm not stronger than transphobia. So if those things are prevalent throughout the organization, whether it be an LGBT or trans organization or not, if those things are prevalent, then that's not a place I need to be, and that's not the place where I'll be able to do my best work. So I really think folks have to be honest with themselves and really assess whether they can work in certain environments. Because I'll tell you, if you walking away from certain situations save you so much pain and hard work in the long run. And it's not just about doing the work; it's about being in the right environment where you will be poured into, so you can do your best work where people really want you. And so just be very mindful, ask questions to people that work at the org, get information. Just don't jump into org just because you're trans and it's a trans org. Really ask questions, really inquire how they handle diversity, and just make your decision wisely and trust your body, trust your heart. But yeah, so I want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to come into the live and support us. Again, make sure you are following all of our organizations. The graphics should be out later today promoting our partnership and promoting the Trans Summit, which again is happening on Saturday, September the 9th in Houston, Texas at the Mahogany Project office.
It will be on our link. The link will be on our link tree. We're going to put it up in the next hour, and we're going to share it with the rest of the organizations so they can put up the link tree as well. So those people can go ahead and start registering for that. It will be the event that you have to register for. It is particularly and only for people of trans experience. While we love our allies, we are preserving this for a safe space for people of trans experience.
So that is all. We all hope you have a lovely Monday, and we will be in touch with you all soon. Bye.
Bye.